Hi, thanks for turning up. I don't want to waste too much time because the main point is that, well, the exams are just around the corner, so time is precious. So basically, when you're trying to tackle the exam, a good starting place is to look at where the marks are. That way you can kind of focus your mind on where there are lots of marks to be had, basically. So there's no point spending, weeks really mastering some topic which you can only get like 2% from. So it doesn't matter that, but I spent 6 months on that. I know absolutely perfectly. But even if you do, and a question comes up on that topic, you can only get 2%. And if you look around, and this is the ordinary level, the number strand is the one where most of the marks are, with a staggering 35%. Now remember, there are 5 strands, or hopefully you've looked at it to that extent. So there's the number strand, there's probability and statistics, there's algebra, there's, I think it's called functions now, but I call it calculus, and geometry. So the number strand, as I said, has 35%. While you would have offhand guessed that if there are 5 strands, there are 20% in each. That's not the case. And it does make sense because the content of the number strand is the maths that most people use afterwards. Throughout your life, that is the maths that you're going to be using. So from a school syllabus point of view, the main thing that you want to teach students is the number strand, because otherwise it's a bit of a flop. You kind of got confused when you were creating your syllabus. After that, the second most marks rich strand is probability and statistics, which roughly has 20%. These numbers will change from year to year, so but not. They're not out there trying to surprise people. They're not suddenly going to go, "Oh, I know, haha, it'd be really funny. This year we'll do 80% of our marks from geometry," hoping to fail everyone. Nobody wants that. I mean, the government feels far better if it can say, under our government, students are doing far better. The teachers feel far better if students do well, because they can say, see, with all our hard work and stuff, now students are doing better. So everyone within the system would prefer if the marks were better. They're not out to try and trick people and catch them out. So we looked at this just the other day on the Facebook page, where I just looked at last year's paper and just did an estimated breakdown of where the marks were. And it was quite typical. We had about 35% from numbers, 20% from probability statistics, and the rest were shared between calculus, algebra, geometry. So that's just good to know. Just to know that, okay, what do I need to do? What should I focus on? focus on number strand, probability and statistics, since that's where the marks are. What else? Bankers. There are various topics which get asked on a regular basis, as in they come up again and again and again. It's not guaranteed. There's no topic, or there are most topics. There are some. Basically, you're looking for topics which come up more regularly, so that you can kind of go, okay, if I just do that topic, will my effort be rewarded? And the bankers are the questions that pretty much come up all the time. So that way, you can go, okay, I'm just going to do these 5, 6, 7, 8 things, and the chances are they're going to come up. So their reward, the marks you can get for the time and effort that you spend, is maximized. So they're the bankers. So since the number strand is the biggest strand, we look at the bankers within that. So first off, there's complex numbers. I think I was saying, yeah, because last year one of the bankers didn't come up. So complex numbers, it's a nice unit. So it gives the examiner a nice set of questions that they can ask you, but there are only a handful of things that you can be asked. So you need to be able to recognize complex numbers. You need to be able to add, subtract, manipulate them. A classic question is dividing complex numbers, because that kind of takes a trick. So if you're just hoping, oh, I'll figure it out on the day, the chances are you won't. So it's a good way for an examiner to test you, to go, good luck, because unless you've studied, unless you've practiced and learned how to divide complex numbers, I can be pretty sure you're not going to be able to do it on the day. So the people who have put in the work will get the marks, and the people who haven't and are hoping to, bluff it on the day are not. Then there's also plotting, representing complex numbers on an organ diagram, rotating them. As I said, a handful of topics. So that requires some work, but for that work, you can get a decent amount of marks with a decent amount of security, since it comes up most of the time. Even better, they're sequence and series. You can get even more marks, and there are very well defined questions that you can be asked. Essentially, you're going to be asked, I'll give you a sequence. Now write the expression Tn that describes that sequence. Then essentially apply the arithmetic series formula. So I'll give you a sequence, like 1, or a series, 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus 13 plus ... up to some whatever bigger number. Now figure it out using the series. or is figured out using the formula, because the formula lets you do this big calculation immediately, saving you time. So it's a good question. Volumes and areas, another classic. I'd say probably the most reliable, and also one of the easiest. So all you need to do is look at the tables book, and that gives you all the formulas and expressions that you need. So you're given an object, which is a square with a triangle on top of it, and you're told what the width and the length of the rectangle is, and or the dimensions of the square, the triangle. So all that is given to you, and then you just plug in those numbers into the expressions that are in the tables book, and you're done. There can be some more challenging questions. So like you're given a three-dimensional thing. So you're told, if I melt a pyramid and I pour what I get into a sphere, how much of the sphere is filled up? Those kind of questions. So those would be the bankers from the number strand. But there are more bankers. Recently, one of the best has been the stem leaf plot. In a way, because the stem leaf plot was newly added when we moved to Project Maths. And so you were particularly rewarded for having done any work on the new content, because the teachers, the support systems were not yet up to speed. So in a way, if you're trying to do the new material, people were aware that you were at a disadvantage, that you weren't going to be given as much help as with the other topics. So it was odd that I think last year they didn't have a stem leaf plot question, while before it was regularly asked. And not only asked, it was given an entire question. So you got loads of marks for what was essentially a very routine procedure. You know, that here's some data, now produce a stem leaf plot. Not difficult. Though at the same time, it requires a different mindset, because when you're working with statistics, you don't have the simple the answer is 3 type answers. You basically have to weigh up. You have to kind of go, well, on the plus side, there's reason A, B, and C, but on the other hand, you could also argue D, E, and F. So, which kind of makes it kind of shades of gray. Max min from calculus is also a banker, though it's normally hidden within other questions. So, you have whatever you're doing, and then they add in, well, what is the maximum? So it might not get an entire question, but it will be hidden somewhere. And the max min is very easy to do. Circle and line come up very regularly. So what's the equation of a circle centered at a certain point with a certain radius? You're given some of the information. Either you're given the equation, can you extract information from that, or you're given some information, can you write down the equation of the circle, maybe mixing with a line and whether the line which is a tangent to the circle and that kind of thing. They're, again, well-defined questions. They come up regularly. So you can kind of go, okay, if I just focus, I can learn the 5, 6, 7, 8 things that I need to know to do, say, the circle question or to do the line question. So you can really focus and learn just those 8 things, and now you can kind of go, okay, now I know the circle question, which is most likely to occur, and from which I'm most likely going to get a decent amount of marks. Also, there's trigonometry. So knowing those, focusing on the number strand, particularly on the bankers, you can efficiently spend your time on things that are most likely going to give you marks. Also wanted to add, move on. The idea there being that it's better to do 2 or 3 other topics than spend forever on one. It's that whole thing of you don't get rewarded. I mean, if you spend 6 months on a particular topic, which at most is going to give you like 2%, then at most you can get 2%, which is not much. Far better to spend that time on multiple topics, in particular, say, the bankers, so that okay, I spent the last couple of days working on this, and now I know the line, I know sequence and series, I know complex numbers. And then you can feel comfortable because most likely they're going to be asked, and there are a decent amount of marks to be had. Pick the low-hanging fruit. Keep spending your time on the topics that you're happy with. You reckon these are easy enough, because that way you'll fly through them and you'll be picking up marks, picking up questions and topics that you're happy with and able to do. Also, ask on the Facebook site or below the relevant YouTube videos, since the answers are known and others can just tell you. So if you are stuck on a problem, on a question, just ask. Other people can tell you. Don't be wasting your time banging your head against the wall. The plan. So what I want to do next is basically go through the bankers live. To be always focusing on the bankers so that people can totally master those, because they're the recommended topics to be working on to maximize your marks. Also, we'll try to get through all the questions that we get during the live events. And they can be also higher level. So where we have the videos and the support, and we talk about, at this stage, the ordinary level stuff, but we have no problem with the higher level questions. So, if questions are bugging you there, it doesn't matter that it's higher level. You can post them. You can ask on the Facebook page or the YouTube videos and the rest. Also, if you know the answer, which you should, since you are doing the exam, then just please give them, since many hands and all that. So, a lot of the people watching the videos would know the answers. Say half the people are stuck, well, then the other half aren't. So if the half who are stuck ask, the other half can just go, oh, that's how you do it. It's as easy as that. So that's the first part of this Leaving Cert Maths Live. Hopefully it worked. There are multiple ways to broadcast. So perhaps this one didn't perfectly work, because when I looked at it a bit earlier on, it looked like it wasn't grabbing the screen. It seemed to be only getting a bit of it. But the main point is talking about what we've talked about. I'll try another approach in the next one, in the next live session. As I said, I suppose I want to go through the bankers for the coming week or two, because that way, if someone was to come up to me and say, what should I do? I don't know. There's so many things. I just say, well, just focus on the bankers. And maybe you already know half of them. That's great. You can do all of that half in maybe a day, because you can kind of go, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm just revising. But even if you add another 2 or 3 bankers to your repertoire, that's another 10-15% maybe added to your marks, which is time well spent. Oh, another point was that basically you can just write a question on a piece of paper, then take a picture of it with your smartphone or whatever, and then post that. Since some of the mathsy notation and whatever is difficult to write down otherwise, because I can use my keyboard and write down words in English, but if I'm trying to draw a circle or a shape from trigonometry, or when I'm talking about geometry, that's trickier. But if you just write it on a piece of paper, take a picture, that will work with that. Like, that avoids all that hassle. Oh, and remember that other people do have to be able to read what is on the paper. Since, I mean, if you're trying to get help and get an answer to your question, if it's all unreadable, then you're not helping the other guy help you. I say that more because I tend to be a very messy writer myself. So this would be the kind of thing that my teachers would have been saying. Okay, so now I just want to move on to another, where did that go? So I don't want to be broadcasting this. I just want to look at some of the resources that are out there. Okay, so actually the presentation looked clearer on the broadcast than I thought. So that's good. What's this doing? Ah, that's the one. Okay. This is strange. Yep, seems to be up and running again. Okay. So this is the Facebook page. It's just Leaving Cert Maths Guide on within Facebook. Leaving Cert Maths Guide, one word. So here, what do we have that can help you? We have questions here, which is one of the areas where you can click and you can post questions that way. Then we have a wide collection of lessons and support posted throughout the page. I talked about many hands make light work. There's also, if two heads are better than one, well, we have nearly 6,000 on this page. So basically, if you ask a question, there are literally thousands of people here who are also working on Leaving Cert Maths. Chances are they know the answer, as well as us. This is the Leaving Cert Maths Guide YouTube page. I'll put in a link to the YouTube page and the Facebook page underneath the video. So once this video is, like this live session is over, it'll be saved and put up onto YouTube. So there'll be, in the description below, I'll add that. So what I wanted to say here is that there are lots of lessons on the channel. At the top, we have the number strand, which, as I mentioned, has the most marks. So if you just click here, you can go through lessons covering the syllabus. So you can practice. You can basically learn everything just here. And underneath the videos, you can comment, you can ask questions. So that would be a good place to start. Then we have statistics and probability. As it says here, remember that combined statistics and probability have about 20%. So you can go through those lessons and you're potentially up to 55%. Doing the most marks-rich topics that are out there, which is what you should be focusing on. And that's what they want you to do, like the Department of Education want you to focus on, because that's why they're giving more marks on that topic or those topics. So that's enough to basically keep you busy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. Remember, the whole syllabus is supposed to take you 2 years. So, don't expect to be able to do everything in one afternoon or even a week. And unfortunately, at this stage, we only have a matter of weeks. So you have to kind of schedule accordingly. And remember, there are multiple subjects, so it's not as if you can spend all your time just doing maths. What we also have is the Turbo series. So here we try to rapidly go through stuff. So, I talked about how the line and the circle are bankers. So here we just talk about the line. And is there one on the circle? Oh, yeah, the line and the circle. So you can just do that one lesson and do a quick summary power course, in effect, trying to get through the basics, the core of the line and circle quickly. Likewise, we try and do the core of calculus quickly and the core of algebra quickly. Note when I say quickly, they are still 20 minutes. So perhaps you want to do them in 2 blocks, do 10 minutes or 15 minutes and kind of go, okay, and then come back and do the remaining 10 minutes later. So, you might just do the line. You can pause the video, you can come back. Your choice. Finally, we also have a whole series on strategy. These, again, it's time is short. Ideally, you want to be looking at this when you're in 5th year, when you have a lot of time, because this talks about best practice in studying. So if you basically use the ideas in this series, you'll learn what basically works. Note that these don't just apply to maths. So you can use the content of these lessons and they will really help you, and you will basically get a first and come do very well in college or whatever, in any study that you do, just using these ideas. In fact, I should probably revise some of this stuff as well, because my study techniques, they kind of work, but I would say that these guys know better, because they get to see hundreds of students, thousands of students. They have specialized in these areas, and they are the experts. So, actually, I don't know what time it is. It's now 8:10. So I've actually been yapping on for 40 minutes. Now I just want to check. Now, I don't expect there to be many, if any, people today. That's how these things work. Basically, you keep at it. So, okay, today, what I learned, that this actually works better than I expected. Again, I'll look at what this looks like once it's uploaded onto YouTube. But it looks like the presentation, like the entire screen did show up. So the basic Hangout technology seems to be good. Now, I'll just keep tinkering away with it. See what I can improve, what I did right, what I did wrong. I'll look at the bankers and try and get a nice series just covering the bankers, because I think that's the most useful thing to do. That and answering people's questions, so that, you know, the things that they haven't managed to sort out over the last 2 years, the things that are bugging them, can be sorted out. That's pretty much all I wanted to do today. Mainly happy that Spurs messed up and Arsenal managed to end up second. That's 20 years in a row under Wenger that we've beaten Spurs. Till next time.